Denver Sports presents the Mile High Hockey Podcast with Mike Evans, presented by Fort Comfort Gutters. Now here's your host with the latest on the Burgundy and Blue, Mike Evans.
Hey everybody, welcome into the Mile High Hockey Podcast. I'm Mike Evans as we come to you right after the Avalanche finish off a, I think, very highly successful 3-2 road trip as they finish off with a win in Philadelphia, 7-4. Avalanche coming away with that 3-2 road trip, win one, lose one. One thing I think you can always count on with this team, I think they have such a high standard and they expect so much of themselves that usually whenever they do lose, you could feel pretty confident about their ability to bounce back the next night. So when they lost the game to the Bruins the other night, I think there was that sense that they would bounce back strong. And they did that as they were able to go out there and beat the Flyers 7-4. So I think that's as we learn more about this team and we watch this season develop. And on one hand, there has been some inconsistency that has worried me and frustrated me at times. I'll be honest with you. I thought that this team, with the way that the season went last year, the hunger to get back to being a Stanley Cup champion. Last year, I sort of excused some of the inconsistency because you are a defending champion. It's tough to bring it every single night. I thought this year it might be a little bit more locked in, but there has been a lot of those ebbs and flows with this team this year. But that's maybe put that on the side that you wish was a little bit better. But the positive with this team, even with some of that inconsistency, is it doesn't get dragged out, right? This team doesn't go on any long losing streaks like you see some other teams around the NHL. While I would like to see more consistency, at least we're not talking about a team that ends up losing 3, 4, 5 in a row. You can usually count on the Avalanche if they don't play well in a particular game, that they're going to bounce back and play better in that next one. And that was the case going from the Boston game to the Philadelphia game. And so file that away. But a 3-2 road trip at this stretch of the season, and let's face it, we are officially in the dog days of the NHL season right now. It's a grind. And if you're able to go out on a stretch of road games, 5 of them, any kind of prolonged road stretch, and come away with a winning record, take it. 3-2, take it. It's 5 road games that you have to play out of 41. They're off the schedule. They're distant memory. You move forward and you go off with a winning record on the road trip. That's good. And they'll have more of these stretches coming up, so we'll see how they handle it. I like to go back to the Philadelphia game and Nathan MacKinnon. And is it clear now? I'm thankful, and I'll give myself a little pat on the back, talking about this guy early on in the season. In a world in which we are constantly bombarded as hockey fans with the Connor McDavids and the Connor Bedards and the Austin Matthews of the world, all the cases that are made for Hart Trophy, MVP in this league, and how Nathan MacKinnon tends to get overlooked. Why he gets overlooked, I don't understand it. Because typically when you have somebody who is one of, if not the best players, on one of, if not the best team in the NHL, especially a team that just won the Stanley Cup a couple years ago, you would think that this guy is on everybody's minds, is on everybody's lips, right? But it seems at times that Nathan MacKinnon gets overlooked, and I just don't get that, because not only are we talking about a hugely successful player on a hugely successful team, but the way he plays. You know, his game is so eye-catching. He plays with so much speed, with so much force. It's hard to take your eyes off the guy. So it has been kind of a source of frustration for me. I mean, maybe it's almost like the Nikola Jokic stuff in the NBA that we have to deal with. But I thought we were a little bit more immune from it with the hockey. Maybe not. But in this case, it seems like there's now that national groundswell of opinion coming around to the idea that Nathan MacKinnon is the Hart Trophy frontrunner right now. And we were playing during our show with Schlereth, we were playing Paul Bissonnette from the TNT crew and the Spittin' Chicklets podcast. And, you know, he's raving about MacKinnon and the idea that MacKinnon is the front runner right now for the MVP. So it is good to see that as the season goes along, Nathan MacKinnon's efforts, which we all recognize as being Hart Trophy worthy, would appear that the rest of the league and the NHL media is starting to realize that as well. To me, Nathan MacKinnon going this deep into his career and this deep into this Avalanche run of excellence and not win a Hart Trophy makes no sense to me. I almost said it's criminal. It's not criminal, but in a sports sense, it's criminal. Okay, so we can understand that. But how about the play in the Philadelphia game? MacKinnon's got 2 goals, gets the puck on his stick, has an easy empty net breakaway for what would be a hat trick. Instead, he sees Logan O'Connor, gives the puck up to O'Connor. O'Connor with 2 goals already. Let O'Connor get the hat trick. And, to me, that's leadership. That's culture, right? And when you have a player like that, as great as Nate MacKinnon is, and he is so unselfish in those moments. I talk all the time about culture, and it's hard to define. And for teams that are down, you take a team like the Broncos, struggling to find an identity, struggling to find a culture. To me, culture is kind of actually very easy. It's who's your best player, and is your best player your hardest worker? Is your best player the one that demands the most of himself and the people around him? If you've got that kind of player, then it's amazing how the culture kind of flows and develops around that. With the Nuggets, right? Nikola Jokic is so unselfish. He's the most unselfish superstar there is in the NBA. Well, you come and you play for the Nuggets, you quickly understand this is the way we're going to play. I got to play this way or else. And so you can understand how that creates such a positive standard, right? So in the case of Nate MacKinnon, you're talking about somebody, and Paul Bissonnette, I'll refer to what he was talking about. We played it on our morning show. He was saying, I hear that this is a guy that after he just gets done playing 25 minutes of all-out intensity hockey, he'll go out and he'll ride hard on an exercise bike for 25 minutes. Again, if you're a younger player, right? You're a fourth-line player. You're a Sam Malinsky, right? Somebody like that. And you see Nathan MacKinnon, you've just watched him put out this insane effort out on the ice, and now you see him working this hard after the game. You see him working hard in practice. That's the kind of stuff that creates a standard. It creates a culture. It creates a sense of expectations of what is expected of you as an Avalanche player. And I love calling that kind of stuff to attention. I love that stuff as a sports fan. And as somebody that covers this game, it's great to see and highlight, and I want to shine a light on these kind of stories and these kind of examples of leadership, because it is what culture is all about. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a surprise. I don't think it's hard to define that when you look at the best teams and you look at the most successful teams in whatever the sport, how often you'll find that common thread being the best players are the hardest workers and they demand the most of themselves even before they start talking about what they're getting from their teammates. So I just wanted to bring that up about Nathan MacKinnon. And a quick thought on Logan O'Connor. I used to do a lot of DU hockey. I covered a lot of DU hockey back when Logan O'Connor was playing. Those really good DU teams. Well, they're always good. DU always has good hockey teams. But I was doing some television games, and I remember watching Logan O'Connor. And Logan O'Connor back then for the Pioneers was like a third or fourth line player. Good college hockey player, right? Just a good, same exact kind of player that we've seen from him with the Avalanche. He was like that for DU. Never at any point while I was watching this guy and calling his games did I ever think we'd be looking at a guy who would be scoring hat tricks and would be one of the best and most lethal shorthanded penalty killers out there in the NHL today. Never thought that would have happened, that he would have turned out to be that kind of player. It is a testament to Logan O'Connor how much this guy has worked, how much he has developed his game, expanded his game to the point where he's scoring hat tricks in the midst of games like this. So tremendous story, good road trip. The Avalanche come home. They're 3-2. We continue to watch and see and start to hear some of the rumblings. I was talking to Drew Spivak as I was walking down here to do this podcast. He's a big hockey fan. He goes, "What do you think? Should the Avalanche go after Marc-Andre Fleury?" And I think it's been quite clear that Jared Bednar has basically put up a, hey, help wanted sign when it comes to goaltending. You listen to his comments, you could tell he probably would like a bit of an upgrade at the backup goalie position. Something to probably put on the to-do list as we look at the trade deadline, which is now coming up a little over a month and a half away. That'll do it for today's edition of the Mile High Hockey Podcast. We'll be back again on Friday with another edition. Thanks so much for tuning in.